This is the CNC Geekcast, the podcast where two guys with speech impediments talk about movies. I'm Joseph Collins.
And I'm Paul Combs.
On today's episode, we'll be talking about the 2000 cult classic film Snatch. We'll be talking about the characters, the plot, the style of the film, and much more, so stay tuned!
Only the second Guy Ritchie film I've ever seen.
What was the first?
Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, he directed that one, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And he's also directing the coming live-action Aladdin movie. When I was looking through Guy Ritchie's movies, I saw that. I just found it interesting.
Yeah, because he uses a lot of quick cuts or fast-paced scenes in his movies.
Yeah, I'm wondering if his style is going to be reflected in Aladdin, but I'm curious.
I wonder how that's going to be when if it does, what moments those are going to be in.
Yeah, I'm wondering that as well. I think it would work well in the bizarre scenes showing Aladdin being a thief and everything. Yeah. It would probably work well in those kind of scenes.
Maybe, probably, yeah. But there's other movies you like directors like Wes Anderson.
Well, part of the reason I like Guy Ritchie, I really didn't realize how much I liked Guy Ritchie until this film even. But I want to watch a lot more of his filmography now. But I love directors that have this distinct visual style. Be it Edgar Wright, be it Wes Anderson, be it...
even Zack Snyder.
Yeah, even Zack Snyder.
Great cinematographer.
Yeah, it's everything else he falls flat on.
I'm sorry to say it's Zack, but anyway, back to Snatch.
That kind of rhymed, actually.
Did it?
Yeah, Zack Snyder, Zack, back to Snatch, sorry.
Oh, geez, I did not know that. I'm going to stand in the corner and just sit there and be in shame with myself.
Okay, well, I guess this is going to be a solo episode then.
Yeah, well, then, by all means, take it away, Paul.
Well, Snatch it has a lot of twists and turns.
Well, the thing that makes this film, and we try not to get too much into drag down the plot, but you gotta have to do this film, don't you? Because
this is a very plot-focused film. That's what makes this film what it is all the twists and turns within the plot. And funnily enough, because this film is a comedy, even with the crime elements, even with the death, it is a comedy. And so much of the comedy is centered around the luck.
The luck and the events in the movie. And then a lot of events in the movie are based on, luck. But this movie's plot basically is... Matter of fact, it has two plots that go parallel with one another, and then they converge at one point. You have one plot which is between Turkish and Tommy, which is pretty much boxing promoters of the underground boxing ring. And then the other plot line is, Freaky Four Fingers, who was played by
Benicio del Toro,
who originally, him and his team stole this 83rd carat diamond, and now everybody's after it. That's pretty much what the plot is, and as the movie goes along, people are finding out about this diamond, and even Bricktop, the main guy or the main villain that Tommy and Turkish has to go to in order to continue doing the underground boxing match, finds out about it. So this entire film is a heist film trying to capture or trying to get this diamond. And for these characters who've been around for a very long time, it's really their downfall. This is the ironic thing about it.
Well, one of the funny things about this film, just again with the humor, is the fact that Turkish and Tommy, though the plot itself kind of revolves around the diamond, they never interact with the diamond until the end of the movie.
This is true. All the people, really, not many people who are after it, other than Bricktop. I mean, Bricktop is the only one they interact with who actually knows about the diamond. And he only knows about it because of Stolen Vincent.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, and that's the thing, and Mickey, who was by Brad Pitt, he never knew anything about the diamond.
No.
No, and I find that interesting how this movie has those two plot lines, and yet it does a very good job of telling these two different stories. It's almost as if it's two different movies in one.
It is, but I like the way it kind of instantly sets the tone of the movie. First off, the opening shot, you see Jason Statham talking about a diamond. So you know that they're going to have a diamond at some point. Mm-hmm. And so the whole movie you're watching, and that really doesn't happen until the end of the movie.
And I like that opening shot. I like the opening sequence because it does a good job. If you're again, teaching film school writing, it does a good job of emphasizing. It gets the audience attention right away because Jason Statham's character, who is Turkish, mentions the diamond twice in the same sentence before the shot continues on, and to the audience is like, okay, so you have underground boxing and you have diamonds. why are those two connected? And then that's when the film starts explaining to you why they are connected. And it does a very good job of that. And it's really funny. This film, however, to be warned, is dark comedy. It's predicated on dark comedy.
It is a very dark comedy. In fact, a lot of the humor, you're actually laughing at people dying.
And getting hurt. And people basically sitting there and using profanity and flat out insulting them. And the other characters are like, okay, we'll just take it. So, I mean, this film is like just... Something about the comedy, though.
But it kind of sets the tone from the opening shot, because you see Benicio del Toro's character doing this heist, but they're having this inane conversation that has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the plot.
Yeah, it's about the story of Adam and Eve, and suddenly it's like, it's just a story, it doesn't exist, and then the Catholic Church exists.
Because I was watching the movie, and I was trying to analyze things, and I was like, okay, they're going to talk about Adam and Eve. Is this going to tie in? No,
it doesn't tie in. No,
it does not tie in at all.
I don't know what.
But the opening shot was also really clever. The way it was done on the security cameras.
Yeah, so because it was filmed watching these characters move through a hallway through the security cameras, you can hear their dialogue, even though that you really can't hear through security cameras. You're still hearing them because audience privilege.
Gosh, it's literally unwatchable. I can't believe that they would mess up that fact. You cannot hear audio through security cameras. I would expect Guy Ritchie to know this.
Yeah, writing 101.
I know. Gosh.
I know, it's like sad.
Fake news.
Fake news. But what did you think of Turkish's and Tommy's character?
What was interesting seeing Jason Statham in this role, because in this role he was kind of an everyman. Yeah, he was a criminal. He was an everyman. He was thrown in this situation, he kept getting deeper and deeper, because in the start of the movie, he talks about not wanting to owe Bricktop a favor. That when you owe Bricktop a favor, that you're in a bad place.
Yes, because Bricktop is a very bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys are criminals, but this guy, he's willing to do a lot of things. He will kill people, and there's actually a scene where he had these people boxing, and this goes to show the comedy of it, the dark comedy. So boxing, and right in front of these boxes, he kills two people. He doesn't care. I mean, these two boxers just stand there like, they're staring at him. He's like, what are you guys looking at? Get back to boxing. And he's willing to do things like he would take a knife and he would slice people open right there, cut people up in front of him. And he would do a lot, and he's willing to... Actually, I think there's one scene you like about him. He's talking about he's on the couch.
I'm not sure about the actor's name, but I really enjoyed the actor's performance in this. Mm-hmm. Like, he has this intensity in this. Frankly, he's scary, but he's not like... intimidating scary. He's just very quiet. That's someone you do not want to mess with, because the scene you're talking about, he's talking to Saul and Vincent, two of the worst robbers in the entire history of robbers.
Yes.
And he's talking to him about how you properly dispose of a body. Apparently, feeding it to the pigs is a very good way. Mm-hmm. And as he's telling this, it's very obvious that he's saying, I'm going to do this to you, without ever you saying the words, I'm ever actually going to do this to you. He's just sitting there drinking tea and telling these dudes he's going to kill them.
Yeah, exactly. This is completely menacing and really bad.
It's terrifying.
But going back to the point you made about Vincent and So being terrible criminals, that's one of the strengths of this movie. Because of the fact you're watching criminals, you're expecting one of these movies where you have a heist movie where all these criminals know exactly what they're doing.
Like Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11, exactly. And this plays against this what makes it so funny is the reversal is
subversion of expectations.
Exactly, because you think that here comes this Russian boss going up to someone Vincent saying, I have a job for you. Here's the job. We're going to pay you this much. And you think that, okay, they know what they're doing. And then you realize that they're really bad at it. And that's what makes it so funny. Like, why are you effing this up? It's so funny to watch these guys in these situations. Because at one point, Vincent was trying to rob a bookie. And this woman pushes a blast shield and pulls him up with it.
But as you said, it works very well from the comedic element, because even though these guys are all bumbling, like for example, Saul and Vincent are after Frankie Four Fingers, and they're sitting in the car scoping out the place where he's going to be, and then they go chasing after the wrong dude.
Yeah, into the bookies that they're supposed to...
Yeah, into the bookies that they're supposed to rob, and then that whole thing happens, which is frankly hilarious. And then they end up getting Frankie Four Fingers completely by mistake.
Exactly, because Frankie Four Fingers was going to go to the bookies because Boris set him up because he wanted the diamond. Because his brother called saying Frankie had the diamond, and that's how the entire thing got going. And Frankie was in a van getting his costume, and these guys, Tyrone throws the cars in reverse, hits the van and stucks Frankie into the car so he couldn't get out. He gets knocked out or something. So that was the reason why Frankie was late.
But it was really funny. The whole movie revolves around that. Because even at the end of the movie, when Tommy and Turkish end up with the diamond, they only ended up with the diamond because they went back to where the Pikeys were. And then the dog comes running up.
And the dog ate the diamond. I mean, the film has so many elements. This is so plot-driven and so many characters. Because at one point, Frankie Fourfinger is called Vinny. When one of the cousin or someone he knows in New York, and I don't know who he's played by, telling him he has this 83-carat diamond. Here comes Vinny flying all the way to London. He didn't want to do it, and he decided to hire a hitman called Tony, and that entire thing added a comedy element
What was
to it.
really clever too, because when he's filmed, you hear cousin Vinny talk about not wanting to come, but then he hears about the 83-carat diamond, and the next shot immediately after that is him getting the stamp on the passport, which is really clever because it did a good job showing, because it shows those quick cuts and it implies how fast he got out of there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does. It applies to how much of a hurry he was in to get to London. And it's like he was really hyped about.
Because that happens later in the movie when he accidentally kills somebody. It shows it in reverse that he gets the stamp of the passport, show him on the plane, and then he's back in New York.
Yeah, do you have anything, Cleo? Yeah, don't go to London.
The film is ridiculously quotable, though.
It is ridiculous, because there's one line I love. There's one moment I love where Tommy gets a gun, and then Turkish was like, Tommy, what's that in your trousers? It's a buckle, Turkish. That's not a buckle, that's a gun. What's a gun doing in your trousers? It's for protection. Protection from what? The Germans? What stops you from blowing your trousers every time you sit down? Lines like that.
Well, I also liked it because it showed the incompetence of them. Because, frankly, you do not put a gun down in your trousers.
No, you don't.
Like, that's a good way to blow off some extremities.
Exactly, and I love that, and I just love the dry sense of humor. And Turgis' questions, because he asks reasonable questions, but doesn't in such a sarcastic way. What's the other words I'm looking for?
No, it's definitely that's the word you're looking for.
Dry, sarcastic manner, but still is able to ask questions like that. That actually is really smart. Why are these people doing that? I don't get it. And then you have, like I said, it's so quotable. It's so.
What is the other quote you really like about it?
The other quote. It was one quote where Vincent and Sol were about to give Brooktop the diamond, and here comes Tony, the hitman, who they just encountered, walk up to them, and he basically said, don't ever underestimate the predictability of stupidity.
Well, that kind of explains why it's so predictable most of the time, Joseph.
Well, this episode's over now, isn't it?
Well, I could do it solo.
You could do it solo. Couldn't you? Hello, my name is Paul Combs. Joseph? Oh.
But going back to Bullet, that tooth, actually not just Tony, it was Bullet Tooth Tony.
Bullet Tooth Tony. He got shot 6 times in one setting.
Because we talked about the opening scene with the security cameras. Mm-hmm. Immediately after that, there's kind of this cool credit sequence.
It was introducing not the actors who played the characters, but the characters and the names themselves.
And I really like that because it's like, hey, you're going to get to see all these characters later in the film. Though some of them have a smaller role than others, like Gorgeous George, the initial boxer, you kind of see, like, hey, I know this character's in, now where do they show up?
And I know who they are, I know what they look like, I know their name, so you're introduced to all these characters right off the bat, so when you see them, like, okay, that's Vincent. Oh, there was Tony, okay, I know him, I know because I've seen him in the credits. The audience is already invested at that point in these characters without really knowing that they are.
I thought it was really clever.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing I thought was clever was Brad Pitt's character.
Brad Pitt is a fantastic actor. Like, a lot of times he's kind of shoehorned as this pretty boy, because frankly, he is a very attractive man.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Like, even sexiest man alive or something like that at one point.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't keep up with stuff like that.
But he's a very good actor. Like, in Seven, in Fight Club, and Burn After Reading, and especially in Snatch. Yes. I really enjoyed his character in Snatch.
Because his character trait was he was an Irish gypsy, and he talks really fast.
Well, he uses that to his advantage. A lot of people don't trust Irish gypsies, and they talk really fast. So he's kind of figured out how to play that to his advantage.
Exactly, because there's one point where he was talking to Turkish about getting his mom a caravan, and he sits there and starts naming off all the things he wants in the caravan, and you can't understand a single thing he said. And then Turkish says, "Let me talk to Tommy for a minute. Did you understand anything you just said?"
Well, that was funny when he said that too, because it's almost like he's talking to the audience.
Yes.
Like the movie itself is aware that the audience has no idea what he just said.
Exactly. It's self-aware, but it's funny. But the thing I really enjoyed about this film too was when Bricktop found out that he was a bare knuckle boxing champion. This goes back to the stupidity of this film, because Tommy goes to his campsite to buy a caravan. And they find out that the caravan had, when they were driving away, the caravan's wheels dropped out from it. So they wanted their money back. And Brad Pitt's like, "You bought what you saw." And then Gorgeous George was threatening him because he was big, and Brad Pitt, being a bare knuckle boxer, wasn't afraid of a fight. But Tommy didn't know that. So Brad Pitt was like, "Okay, I'll fight you for it." And Tommy was like, "Okay, fine, no problem." Well, here's the thing. Before this entire event happened, Gorgeous George was one of the boxers that Turkish was promoting, and he went to Bricktop with it. And we know about the film that if you want to continue on doing the underground boxing thing, you have to go through Bricktop eventually, because he has a monopoly pretty much on it. And you don't want to cross Bricktop. Turkish actually said this. You don't want to be in Bricktop's debt.
You do not want to owe Bricktop a favor. Basically.
No, you don't, because once you do, he owns you at that point, and he will collect his debt in a very unpleasant way. So you see a fight. If you go to the boxing scene, and you know that there's a director who really likes boxing scene in his films.
As I've said, Guy Ritchie really seems to like bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah.
Because he had it in both Sherlock Holmes films, and he had it in Snatch. And I think from what I've read, there's even a scene about it in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Oh, wow.
For some reason, he just really likes filming hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. So there's a moment in this film, and I love it, where Gorgeous George keeps on hitting Brad Pitt, but Brad Pitt just keeps on taking the hits, and he's just stretching this entire time. So every time he hits, he just keeps on stretching and loosening up his muscles. And then at one point, he just gives this knockout hit, and the audience is like, "Oh, crap." And you can see at one point, Gorgeous George is on the ground, and you don't know if he's dead or not.
Actually, I thought he was dead.
Yeah, that's the thing. The movie did a very good job of showing it. And then there was Tommy in the corner. And if you look, the camera's zooming up on him. And if you look close enough, Tommy's not a very tough dude. He tries to be tough, but he really isn't. And you could see him actually start shedding a tear because he thought he was dead at that point.
Actually, I did not notice that.
Yeah, I didn't notice it either when I first saw the film. But if you look close enough, when you're zooming up, you can see a tear just one tear coming from his eyes, because he knows, I'm most likely going to die.
Well, I enjoyed that after all the fights in this film. Because Guy Ritchie shows the action, and then he shows the reaction to the action. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting sentence, the reaction to the action. I'm sorry,
it is.
It was just...
Good way to put it, though. I mean, it's needed.
Because later in the film, Mikey is supposed to take the fall. That was what Gorgeous George was going to do. So he replaces the Gorgeous George with Mikey. Yeah. And of course, Mikey is supposed to take the fall then.
Yeah, well, because of the fact that they already set the fight up with Gorgeous George, Turkish went up to Bricktop and says, "We lost our fighter." And Bricktop's like, "Well, you can't lose a fighter. We've already set everything up. You just can't replace the fighter."
Can't lose a fighter. It's not a set of car keys.
Exactly. He's like, what did you lose him? It's not a set of car keys. But, of course, like, well, I can't replace him. So, okay, fine. We'll replace him, but make sure your man goes down in the fourth. Well, Mikey didn't go down in the fourth.
He never goes down at all in this film.
No, he doesn't. And there's in the sequence, and this is connected. He knocks out the fighter he's fighting at the same time. And so what Bricktop saw was, okay, I didn't like what I saw. You didn't do what I say, but I can make money off of this guy. So he decides that I want Mikey to fight again. But there's a scene where Turkish tried to convince him, and he says, "I'm not going to fight, but I'll tell you what, I'll bet you for it." So they were doing this game where they have they're
chasing a rabbit.
Chasing a rabbit.
And it was really cool when they did the chasing a rabbit scene too, because they show Tyrone, the big dude.
Yeah, the getaway driver. It's like, how are you supposed to get away from anything? It's like, trust me, when he needs to, he moves. But he's one of the guys who Bricktop found out that him and Vision and Soul was robbing the bookie. So they captured Tyrone, and that showed a scene of Bricktop's men chasing Tyrone.
And it was synced to the scene of the dogs chasing the rabbit, which was really cool.
But what's really interesting about that scene is that unlike the rabbit, Tyrone didn't get away. The rabbit got away, but Tyrone got caught. So I like that
Well, I liked that too
Contrast.
because you see the rabbit get away, so you're like, does Tyrone get away? And then nope.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't get away. And I also like it because it puts Turkish in a bad situation. Which goes back to how evil Bricktop is. Because once Bricktop set his mind to something, he's not going to let it go.
Yeah, he is a man who is very used to getting his way.
He is, and he will do whatever it takes to get his way. And we meet in this film a really sweet woman who was Mikey's mother.
I don't know if sweet is the word I would use.
Well, not sweet, but you can see. But there's a kindness to her. I mean, there's a tough. She's tough, but she's still kind. I mean, you can see why she's loved by Mikey and everybody else. I mean, she is tough, but she is a tough love that same time is like, I don't know how to describe it.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it exactly. Well, apparently this is when Bricktop becomes a clear villain in this film.
I think Bricktop was kind of meant to be the villain from the beginning.
Well,
because the first time you see villain, he's training fighting dogs. He's poking them to get them more mean.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, I want to know what your initial thoughts were when you saw that. You could be someone who has dogs them yourself. I mean,
I understand that things like that movies. I seriously,
just the idea. I mean, just the idea that people would do that.
Well, I know awful people exist, but I suspend my disbelief when watching movies. Like, I know that they did actually have dog fighting in the movie.
Oh, yeah, I know they didn't do that, but it's like, it was one of those things where it definitely does a good job of showing how bad Bricktop is. Because if you want to show how evil a character is, just show an animal getting, abused. I mean, it does a good job of that.
But that's the reason I thought Bricktop was obviously the villain from the initial get-go, because you're seeing them attack an animal.
And actually training them to kill the animals. And he actually has one shot where you saw an animal who just lost a fight and it cost a life. So, but the scene was really powerful because to convince Mickey to fight, Bricktop basically burned his mother's caravan while she was sleeping in it. And that was a really terrible scene, a dark scene. And as an audience member, I found that scene to be very powerful, not only because of Brad Pitt's reaction, because I love that reaction shot when the camera was zooming up in his face. You could see that intensity on his face, like his sorrow, his sadness, but you could see this look of, I will have my revenge.
Well, I like that too, because he did a very good job conveying all that without saying a single word.
Yeah, and did a good job. But I also liked it because of, you had, like I said, at that point you had all these bumbling criminals who were doing bad things already. But now you have someone to clearly root for and clearly root against. At this point, you've just been laughing at people's misfortunes.
And then I also understood the intensity of that last fight. Because after that, of course, the one last fight happens. And you see, and you're like, is Mikey gonna knock him out?
Is Mikey gonna survive? Is Turkish?
Because at this point, if Mikey knocks him out...
Turkish is dead, Tommy's dead. I mean, there's actually a scene where Tommy and Turkish was like, I'm so nervous about this, Turkish. And Turkish is like, well, if we lose, then we're going to be fed to the dogs. We're going to be killed and fed to the dogs. How can we be so calm? Well, there's nothing we can do about it, Tommy. This is the bed we made, basically. And it did add intensity to that fight. And the minute that Mikey knocked down that fighter, and you saw once again the reaction, I love that when Turkish was like, and now we are effed.
Yeah.
But what makes this movie so good was the ending twist to this film.
Well, it was a good twist. Had it not been a comedy, I probably would have been not suspended my disbelief. I would have been like, well, I would have liked to have seen a little more hints of it. Mm-hmm. But since it was a comedy, I think it worked quite well because so much of the film was predicated on reversal of expectations.
And also the way it was edited, because there was a scene earlier where they had a car crash and you saw the events unfold, but from different perspectives. Mm-hmm. And they had those perspectives reversed. So in this sequence, you had Bricktop coming out of the building, seeing Turkish, Mikey, and Tommy trying to escape, and you hear him talking to someone over the phone, you hear a gunshot. So the audience thinks, okay, so Bricktop's man just shot somebody. Mm-hmm. And then he goes up to his limousine and tells his driver, give me the shooter so I can shoot these guys over here. At that point, suddenly the audience is shown what really happened. And what really happened was, well...
The Pikeys gunned them down.
Yeah, what happened is that Bricktop sent his men out to basically kill all of the Irish gypsies if Mikey failed. But what happened was they all had a plan where they were waiting for him. And then there was actually a line where it was like, for every action there is a reaction. And the Pikeys' reaction is one effing thing.
So, well, thinking about it, it did make sense though. Like once I started thinking about it, piecing it all together, it's because the Pikeys always used that to their advantage. The fact that people
didn't
like them or didn't think that much of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of used that to play the game because no one expected them to know how to play the game.
Yeah. And you said that when you saw that scene, you didn't expect it, but it made sense.
Exactly, that was what I was thinking. Had it been a drama, I may have been like, well, that feels like a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
But thinking about it in this film, I think it kind of worked.
Yeah, and it's also, I think that it puts a good cap on the film because, like I said, at that point, you're just seeing criminals do criminal things. You're laughing at their misfortunes because you're not supposed to be doing that, guys. You're really not. And you're criminals, and yet you're really bumbling at it. And their misfortunes, their incompetence is what we laugh at because it's like watching, basically, these home videos of criminals trying to, do these things, and we laugh at them like, oh, these criminals leave shotguns all over the place, or these criminals, look at the camera, or they try to rob a ATM only to find out that it's so ingrained into the wall that they tell the cars apart. They don't really think these plans through, and this movie does a very good job of just capturing that and showing it. So at this point, like I said, you have someone to root for, someone to root against, and you like Bricktop getting his just desserts at the end of it. And you like seeing Mikey, even though he lost his mom, even though you may not win encourage, revenge, you still like the fact that the good guy won and the bad guy lost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
and like I said, put a good cap on the film that, a good high.
Well, that isn't quite the cap of the film, though. The cap of the film is when Turkish and Mikey go back to the Pikey site, and they're all gone. Like, they just vanished overnight.
Yeah, and the police is like, okay, we know 12 people just got missing, so let's see, and they're like, what are you doing out here? And you see a dog out there, and at this point, the dog swallowed the 83-carat diamond. And that's why Vincent, this is because there's a scene where Sol and Vincent brought Tony and Cousin Vinny back to the place to get the diamond, and they thought they got the diamond, but the dog swallowed it, jumped out the window, and Vinny was
Which
like...
is just a really funny sentence.
Yeah.
The dog swallowed this giant diamond and jumped out the window.
It is. And Vinny just starts shooting all over the place, and at this point, this what makes this film so funny, because we heard the story of Bullet to Tony, who got shot like 6 times and survived.
6 times in one sitting.
In one setting, and survived, and then here he is, getting shot and killed by a random, just, here those Cousin Vinny just shooting everything, and he's like, Tony? And then he realized, and that's when he went back to New York. And then at the end of the film, we see Doug the Head.
Yep.
Be the one that Turkish and Tommy was talking to, and he called...
It definitely uses a lot of circular plots where everything kind of connects in this way.
Mm-hmm. And then you finally, the audience realizes, oh, okay, so that's what underground boxing and a big diamond has to do with one another.
Absolutely nothing.
No, nothing, but it was a fun story nonetheless.
Exactly.
And that's the thing I like about this film, is that it's like, you sit down and you have this guy over the, like in a bar, and you have this one guy telling this great, grand story of an event that it's like, is this possible? Is this happening? Well, what's the difference? It's how you tell the story that makes fun. You can tell this exaggerating events that make no sense, but it's about how you tell the story more than about if it's probable or not. And I think this movie is exactly one of those moments, one of those good things.
No, I think so too. I think it's a very good summation of it.
It is. So, but geez, we talked about this movie to death, didn't we?
We did.
Wow. I mean, so tell our audience what's on store for them next week.
This was a film a lot of people weren't excited about. Mm-hmm. A lot of people had very low expectations for this film, and we are included in the number of people that were pleasantly surprised by this film.
Yes, like we said on this show, we don't go into movies wanting to hate them. We go into the movies hoping that they're good, and when we find something enjoyable about them, we will give credit where credit's due.
And of course, the film we're referring to is Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle.
Yes. Who would have thought, right?
Who would have thought?
I would call this a soft sequel.
I don't know what to classify it as.
Yeah.
But either way, I was pleasantly surprised. And if you want to hear our conversation on it, stay tuned.
That's next week. So until then, I'm Joseph Collins.
And I'm Paul Coons.
And you've been listening to the CNC Geekcast.